Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss on very basic topic that what are the different code you need to study as a structural engineer. So if you're civil engineer and you want to learn the structural designing or you want to design the structure, then what are different code you require to study as a structural engineer. So we will talk about on this particular topic. Before starting this topic, one very important note. The note is like that the code completely depend upon for the which nation you are going to design the project. Let's suppose that you are going to design the project for American place. So you have any structure which is located in America. Then you have to follow the code based upon American. So we have ACI code which will be helping you to design the structure as per that guidelines. Same is like that if you are designing in a structure in India, then you have to follow the Indian code and all the guidelines we have to study or we have to practice as per Indian standard. So the code completely depend upon on which country you are going to practice the project. Let's suppose that if you want to practice in America, then you have to follow ACI code. And if you want to practice in India, then you have to learn the IS codes. Now under the ACI codes also, there are a lot of more codes we have. More than 50 codes are there under the ACI codes. So you have to learn the most important codes among them. So the most common among them are like in ACI we have ACI 301, then we have ACI 117, then we have ACI 311. So like that we have different codes under the ACI. So we have to learn the most important code among them. So there are a lot of more codes are there. So I will not talk about that much regarding the ACI code. We will talk more deeply regarding the IS codes. Under the IS codes also we have more than 50 plus code. But we no need to require to study all the 50 plus codes and all. So what are the important codes that is used in the structural design? We will study that code only. So we have the codes like IS 456 which will be used in the structural design. Then we have IS 1893 which is an earthquake code that will be also used as a structural design. Then we have IS 875, that is also one of the important code which will be used in the structural design. This comes part 1, part 2 and part 3. So one for dead, live, then for the wind. Then we have IS 13920 which is ductility code. Then we have IS 16700 which is a tall building code, and that code also is very important. So like that we have few more codes also which you require to study as a structural engineer. Also along with the code we require to study some of the handbooks also like SP24, then we have SP62, then we have SP16. So these are the important handbook also we require to study along with the IS codes and all. Now in this lecture we will discuss upon these all many codes. But before going into this part, first of all I would like to explain you that what are the purpose of the codes we have. So any code you have, like if you have ACI code or any Nepal code or any Indian standard code, what is the basics purpose of these all the design codes we have, we will study first of all that part. Then we will study the function of the design codes. Then finally we will come upon the different IS codes that we require to study or that we require to know before going to design part. Now move to the first thing, which is the purpose of your design codes. In the purpose of the design codes, the first point is that national building codes have been formulated in different countries to lay down the guidelines for the design and construction of the structures. So what is happening here? Let's suppose that I have to construct any building or any structures here. So I have to follow some guidelines, and that guidelines is given in your national building codes, and different countries will have different national building codes also, and on the basis of that guidelines you have to construct the structure. So the construction of structure and the design of the structure will be followed by different code, and that code will have some guidelines, and a structural engineer or any civil engineer will follow all the guidelines which is given in the national building codes to design that particular structures and do the construction of that structures. Now come to the second point. The second point is like that the codes have been evolved from collective wisdom of expert structural engineers gained over the years. Now second point tells you that how the national building codes like IS codes, ACI codes have been evolved, how actually it is got formed. So it is formed by the collective wisdom of expert structural engineers having years of the experience. So they have contributed in creation of our codes. Now come to the third point, which is that these codes are periodically revised to bring them in line with the current research and often current trends. Now these are the national building codes like ACI codes, the IS codes, it always get revised. So after 2-3 years the code has been get revised, and the revision of this code are depend upon the current research which is going in the particular country, and also it is depend upon the current trends also. So what is the current trends and the current research in the particular country, and on the basis of that the national building codes are getting revised. So there are always some research is going on, and on basis of that research these codes are always get revised after few years. So to understand how the revision is done, take an example of the most important code, which is IS 456. So this is the most important code in the context of Indian codes. So if you talk about the Indian code, in the Indian code you will find that IS 456 code is the most important code here, and in this code only you will find how the design and the construction of the structures are given. So you will find guidelines in this code. Now when this code was published, the first time this code was published in 1953. So at the time of 1953 the expert structural engineer actually contributed in the foundation of this code. So all the guidelines related to that time they have been given in this IS 456 code. Now again this code got revised in 1957. So this was the second revision. Now again in the current research of 1957 this code actually got revised in 1957. Okay, again in 1978 the third revision came, and according to 1978 the research and the current trends, again this code got changed, it got revised. So the expert structural engineers actually given some of the revisions in this code, and this revision actually done on the basis of that time in 1978. Now the fourth revision which is came in 2000, this is the fourth revision, and on the basis of the current situation at that time again this code actually got revised. So for IS 456 2000 was the last revision, and this is also the fourth revision we can say, and we are now in 2023. So it has been more than 20 years. You will find that no fifth revision has been came for IS 456. See, amendment actually it is coming year after year. So in 2021 also you will find that amendment has been came. So amendment actually it is different thing. So in amendment you will find a little bit changes in the codes, but in the revision you will find the major changes. So I am talking about the major changes. You will not find that it has been done after 2000. So there is no any fifth revision came for IS 456. Amendment actually it is coming after a year, like after 2 year, 1 year you will find some of the amendments are coming, and this amendment will create only little changes in the codes. Okay, so I think you are very clear about that, how actually the code get revised year and year after. Now next we will look at upon function of our design codes. So the previous slide was on the purpose of the design codes. Now we will see upon what are the function of the design codes we have. So the first function of your design code is that to ensure the adequate structural safety by specifying the certain essential minimum reinforcement for the design. So the first point of the design code is actually telling you that so any code you are following, either it is a IS code or any ACI code or any other country code, the first and the most important priority it will give you upon the structural safety. So this structural safety is one of the most important priority for every design codes. The reason why the structural safety is given a most important priority for every design code, because any person is living in particular structure, he should feel safer in that structure. That's why to ensure the safety, the code has given a minimum reinforcement for every structural element. So either it is a column or it is a beam or shear wall or slab, for every structural element we have a minimum reinforcement for that particular structural element. Let's suppose for the columns we have a 0.8 as a minimum reinforcement. So this is only done to make sure that your structure should be safer. Now let us look at the second function of our design code. Now the second function of the design code tells you that any structural engineer who is practicing any design and all, what will happen? See, the code which you are getting, IS code or any other code also, you will find in that code there is a formula or chart. So what happening, the formula and the chart which you are getting in the IS code is result of very sophisticated analysis. So at the back end there is sophisticated analysis has been done and their results and the formula are actually given in our code. Let's suppose that I'm just taking an example that let's suppose that I required a TOSI max value for grade M20. Okay, so I don't need to calculate the TOSI max value for grade M20. In the code it is given directly. So you can refer IS456 code and you can just go to the page number 24. You will find the maximum shear stress value, that is TOSI max values given for different grade here, for M15, M20, M25 like that. So what is happening? It is making our task very easy. We don't need to calculate every time and all. So formulas and the chart will be given easily in our IS codes or any ACI codes also. If I am talking about other country codes, so in that also you will get it. So for the designer, the designing task actually it becomes very simple, we can say, with the help of the design codes, because some of the formulas, some of the charts, it will get appeared in the design codes. So it makes little bit your design simple, we can say it, not that much complicated due to this your design codes. So in the design code you will find out the formulas, charts and all, which make it design little bit easy for the designer. Now let us move to our third function of our design code. Thirdly, the codes ensure a measures of consistency among different designers. So the third point is also very important point here, that what is happening here, that let's suppose that I have a IS code and in the IS code there are guidelines I told you before, and on the basis of that guidelines I need to design the structures. So every designer will have that design codes and they will design on the basis of that. So the consistency will be maintained here. Let's suppose that I have a structure here and the same structure has to be get designed by 3-4 structural engineer. Then what will happen? The outcome of the design will be almost same for every structural engineer. Almost it will be same, not exact, but I will say almost it will be same. So what is happening? The consistency is actually maintained because every structural engineer will follow the design codes and the guidelines given in the design code. So the result, or we can say outcome, will be similar because every structural engineer will follow the design codes and the guidelines given in the design codes will be get followed. This is not going to happen like in this structure, any structure given minimum reinforcement of the column more than 2%, it is not possible. So he will give it minimum reinforcement of 0.8% only in the column. Is it not possible that every structural engineer will calculate different base shear? They will calculate almost similar. So what is happening here, that consistency will be get maintained. And this is the most important thing here. If the designer is from the same country and following the same codes which is followed in their country, the design and outcomes will be similar, because they will follow the similar guidelines given in the design codes. Exact, it will not come similar, but I will say almost similar. Now I think the third point is also clear too. Now let us move to the fourth point here. That the fourth function, I will say this is the one of the most important function of our design codes, because these design codes protect structural engineer from the legal actions that can be taken due to the structural failure occurred during the site. And this structural failure may occur due to the faulty material and improper construction, we can say. So if there is no any proper supervision is done on the site and the faulty material is used by the contractor, the structure can be get failed. And your design was okay, you have properly follow all the guidelines given in your design code and you given the design, and the structure failed due to the improper construction. They have used the improper material, the faulty material they have used. There was not any proper supervision was done on the site. So this caused the failure to the structure. You have given the design was very okay. The problem was on the contractor. The contractor has not used a good material. They have used the faulty material during the constructions, and this caused the failures of the structure. So your fault was not there, the contractor fault it was there. So it protects you from the legal actions against you which has been taken, or we can say it was possible to taken due to the structural failure. And this structural failure was actually happened due to the faulty material, not due to the design. You can easily defeat by saying that this structural failure occurred due to the improper construction practice going on the site. Or you can say also that improper material, the faulty material used by the contractor, and due to this the structural failure occurred at the site. But one very important thing, that the design which you have given should have followed all the principles given in the design codes. If it is okay that you have followed all the principal guidelines in the design codes, then only you will be protected. So the design code give you the legal validity to you. Now we have clearly understood that what is the function and the purpose of the design codes are there. It becomes very important to know that what all the functions and the purpose of the design codes are there. Now next we will look at upon what are the different codes we require to study as a structural engineer. Now let us move to the next slide, and the next slide is the list of all the important IS codes which you require to study to become a good structural engineer. These codes are freely available in the internet, you can download it. If you're not finding this where actually listed, you can go to our website, that is DESIGNSKILLS.in, and after opening this website you can click on the code option here, and you will find that all the important code are actually listed here. So again, if you want to look at the IS 456 code, you click on this option. You can view this code directly on our browser, or even you can just click on this, and after that you can download it and you can open the PDF and you can study it. Now come back to the topic which we are discussing. Among all the IS code, I will say that IS 456-2000 code is one of the most important code when it comes to the structural design. So when you're going to design the structure, then this code is one of the most important code, and it is used for the plain and reinforced concrete structures. So whenever you're going to use the plain and reinforced concrete structure, at that time this code will play a very important role here. So all the construction related, all the design related things you will find in this code only. Also this code is called as mother of IS code. Why actually it is called? Because all other code, if you look at, is directly and indirectly dependent upon this code only. So any code if you're looking upon, this code will be directly or indirectly dependent upon this IS 456 2000 code only. So any structure you are making, when it comes under the plain and reinforced concrete, so any structure which is coming under the plain and reinforced concrete will be get designed by the help of this code only. And other structures like a steel structure and all will be get designed by IS 800 code. Again, I am repeating here that this IS 456 2000 code is meant for plain and reinforced concrete structures, and this is the main code, I will say it here, because all the other code are directly dependent, or we can say directly or indirectly dependent upon on this IS 456 2000 codes only. So the clauses will get directly affected or indirectly affected with this code. So it becomes very important to learn first of all this IS 456 2000 code. So you have to get thorough about this code. All the clauses, all the points, all the things should be get well understood by a structural engineer. And in this code, the construction point of view also they have explained you, and related to design point of view also they have explained you. Now let us move to the next code, which is your IS 875 part 1. So this is called as a dead load code. So all the dead load you will find in this code only. So you will find, like, if you want to calculate the tiles load, then you will find in this code. If you want to calculate your brick load or any stone load or any other material load, if you want to find out, then you have to follow this code IS 875 part 1. So the part 2 comes under the live load. So the part 2, if you talk about the part 2, you will find that all the live load related things you will find in the part 2. So in the live load, like, you will find it like what is the person loads. So you will find all the live loads calculations given in the part 2. So the part 2 actually meant for the live load calculations, and the part 1 actually made for the dead load calculations. Then comes to the part 3. The part 3 you will find for the wind load. So if you want to calculate the wind load, then you have to go with the IS 875 part 3. Here you will find all the wind load calculations in this part 3. Now again I am repeating this. IS 875 come with the 3 part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1 is related to the dead load. So all the dead load of the structure will get calculated by the part 1. The part 2 comes with the live load. So all the live load will be get calculated with the help of part 2. Then comes to the part 3, which is the wind load calculations. So the gust factor and all you will comes under the IS 7 part 3 only. So you will find all the related calculations of wind in the part 3, like K1, K2, K3, all the importance terminology, all the importance things you will find in the part 3. So if you want to calculate the wind load, then you have to look at the part 3. Now the next code is your IS 1893 2016. So this is your earthquake code. So if you want to calculate the earthquake load, then you have to follow this particular code. Here you will find how to calculate the base shear, what is the response reduction factor. So all the important terminology related to the earthquake you will find in this code only, and you have to take the reference for designing the structure with an earthquake resistant. Then you have to follow this particular code only. Now the next code is your IS 13920 2016. So this code is also called as ductile design code. The reason why we call it as a ductile design code, because if you want to a structure to get ductile, means if you want ductile design in your structure, and that time you have to follow this particular code. Otherwise your IS 456 2000 is good enough for detailing purpose, but in your structure if you want more ductility, then you have to follow this particular code for detailing that particular structure. So all the clauses related to this ductile design code will be get followed while doing the ductility design. So when you give the ductile design to the client, or we can say to the structure, then this code will be get referred. So for the ductile detailing, this IS 13920 is one of the most important code. So all the clauses will be get referred while doing the ductile detailing for the particular structures. Now the next is your IS 16700 2017. So this is the tall building code. So the structure who is having more than 50-meter height and between 250-meter, at that time you have to follow this particular code clauses. So all the clauses given in this code should be get followed when you design the structure which height is more than 50-meter, and actually this code is applicable with the height 50-meter up to 250-meter. So if the height is more than 250-meter, then this code is not applicable. So this code is only applicable with the height of 50-meter to 250-meter. So this code actually meant for the tall building structure, or we can say a high-rise structures. Now let us move to the next important code, which is your IS 800 2007. So this code actually meant for steel structures. So all the structure design and constructions and all are given in this particular code. So all the related things regarding the steel structure you will find in IS 800. So the basis difference between IS 456 2000 and IS 800 2007 is that this IS 456 2000 is meant for plain and reinforced concrete structures, but this IS 800 2007 is meant for the steel structures. So any structure is making from the steel will be used this particular code. Now I think that you are very clear that which code actually used for the what purpose, and all the important codes are actually needed to study. Along with these all the IS codes, you have to study the handbooks also. So the handbooks like SP16, SP32, these are the important handbooks. You have to always remember it and you have to study it. Now if you are interested in the non-linear design for the structure, then there are few more codes that you have to study, but that codes will not come under the IS codes. So we have the more codes like FEMA codes, ATC codes, which will help you to design the structure with non-linearity. So this thing I will talk it in the other video lectures, where I will explain you that what all the different codes we required to do the non-linear analysis. So these all the codes which you just talked about is depend upon the linear analysis. So if you're doing the linear analysis, then only this all the codes will be get followed. If there is a structure, if you want to do the non-linear analysis, then this code will not get applicable. So we have a different code at that time to perform the non-linear analysis for the structures. So at that time the other code will also becomes very important to study.